It's what the people are calling the Tank Bowl. We got Giants, Raiders out in Vegas. Loser takes all. This is Blue Rush by the New York Post Sports. Week 17 is here. We have 2 more weeks left in the Giants season. 2 more weeks for the Giants to end a 9-game losing streak and for Mike Kafka to hopefully get his first win as interim head coach. Happy holidays, everybody, every big blue fan out there. I'm Brandon London with our New York Post Giants beat writer, the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Schwartz is in the building, on Zoom. Paul, Notre Dame isn't playing in a bowl game, but the Giants and the Raiders are. How you feeling, my man?
I'm feeling that I got to go to Vegas this weekend, and Vegas is a place for big winners and big losers, right? High rollers, low rollers, win money, lose money, and are there any winners coming out of this game? Someone will win the game, but boy, oh boy, traveling across the country right after Christmas, right before New Year's to watch Giants Raiders is I don't complain about my job, certainly, and going to Vegas is fine, but seen a lot of bad football, and now I got to travel a long distance to probably see a lot more bad football.
This is one of those moments where you wish you could work from home and do everything from home. But we're going to talk about the implications of the Tank Bowl. I hate calling it that. But we're going to talk about those implications. But let's start off with the hottest storyline coming out of the week. Everybody has turned on Jaxson Dart all of a sudden. They want the Giants to use him, I guess to trade him, get the first pick, draft Fernando Mendoza. I don't know why all of a sudden in the span of X amount of weeks, everybody went from dancing like Jaxson Dart to now wanting to get him out of New York. Has Jaxson Dart regressed, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, Brandon, let's slow the roll a little bit with this. Everybody wants him traded for Mendoza. I mean, that is a very, very small, maybe vocal minority on social media, but that is not that I don't think that's the widespread belief or opinions of most Giants fans. It is nowhere near the belief of the people in the building.
Yep.
Jaxson Dart will be their quarterback in 2026. No matter who the head coach is and no matter who the general manager is, unless there's really unforeseen things that I can't anticipate right now. So the thing about Jaxson Dart, has he regressed? Yes, he's regressed. Now, I asked Mike Kafka that, and he said, I don't see it as regression. Sure, maybe the numbers aren't what they have been in the past, but I think he's playing well. I think he's playing at a high level. There's certainly things that he can continue to improve on. Well, I say bull to that, okay? Just some raw numbers. In 7 games with Brian Daboll, Jaxson Dart completed 62% of his passes. With Mike Kafka, 3 games, 60%. So not a big difference. 7 games with Daboll, 10 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, quite good. 3 games with Kafka, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, not quite as good at all. The big one here, passing yards, 202.4 for Daboll in 7 games, 139.3 for Kafka in 3 games. Now, these numbers are skewed a little bit. He had 33 passing yards last week, right? So that's going to drop everything down. Look, it's the number test, it's the eye test, it's the look-see test. Dart has not played as well since he came back from missing 2 games in concussion protocol. Does he miss Brian Daboll? Does he miss, you saw it, Brandon, right? You saw it in training camp. You saw it in practice. These guys were kindred spirits, right? They were simpatico, right? They had that kind of yin yang. There's no question. Their personalities were highly aligned, vibrant, emotional guys. Mike Kafka's not that. Not saying he's not a good coach, but he's not that. Kafka had a relationship with Dart as the offensive coordinator, but is he just missing what Daboll brings? There's a lot wrong when Brian Daboll was the head coach, but there's definitely something a little missing with Jaxson Dart, and that's why I wrote this week in the New York Post, not saying at all they should sit him the last 3 games, but just that thought is not crazy is really alarming and troubling. You know what I mean? Because the last thing this team needs is some kind of catastrophic injury to Jaxson Dart in these last 2 games. And now their plans for 2026 are all messed up. So You can't play scared. These games don't count. I get it. I mean, they count, but they don't mean anything really. We'll talk about the tanking implications in a minute. But just even thinking maybe it would be better to sit Jaxson Dart is really alarming. I don't think they're not going to do that. They don't. I don't think they should do that. But just even that crosses anybody's mind is just shows how badly the season has gone.
Yeah, and that's something that I said a couple weeks ago, Paul, just because I did not want him, I didn't want something to happen to him that was going to affect his development in the offseason as well. Like a lot of people think that once the season is over, that Cowboy game is over on January 1st, that Jaxson Dart's development just stops there. No, and then it picks back up once the new head coach is chosen, and you know, you go from there in the offseason workouts. No, this is a kid that I feel like is never going to put the playbook down. It's never going to put football down. Yeah, he might go on some sort of vacation with the Instagram girlfriend and all, get away from the game, get away from New York for a little bit, go see your family. But then I feel as though this is a kid, this is a football guy. This is a Johnny Moxon from Friday Night Lights, or Varsity Blues back in the day. This is a guy that loves football. So I feel as though, like, you have to protect the kid, and I am okay with Jameis Winston closing out these next two games. What throws me off when we talk about this regression is it's not like Mike Kafka was someone who didn't have his hand on the development and progression of Jaxson Dart throughout the course of the year. It's like, here's the offensive coordinator. This is a guy that's been calling plays. We know it's Brian Daboll's system, and Brian Daboll's the head coach, and that's his guy. But Mike Kafka was still calling these plays before Brian Daboll got fired. And I feel as though once Brian Daboll got fired and that bromance was now, you couldn't see that every day. Not only did they lose their edge in terms of calling plays and how they were going to call plays and manage a game for Jaxson Dart, but he has regressed when you look at the numbers wise. But I would still say this as a wide receiver, Paul, he still throws a pretty football. And the guys are dropping balls. Guys are making him look bad as well. He's not getting any help on the perimeter. But so when it comes to the stat line, yes, I can say he's regressed. But in terms of putting the ball where it needs to be, I see this kid getting better and better each week. That's why I still want to put him in bubble wrap and sit him for the next two games.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to do that.
No,
And,
yeah.
you know, he needs to play. He needs to be careful. He needs to be smart. Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be talking about this. You know, you shouldn't be saying, I want to put him in bubble wrap. Shouldn't be saying, well, I think he should play, but I can see a reason why he shouldn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, this is loser discussions. You know what I mean? And you know, and that's the problem, is that the games become so meaningless with nothing to play for, so to speak, that you think about things like this. And you know, like, look at the Saints, right? The Saints are a bad team. You know, the Saints, I think a month ago, people thought were probably the worst team in football, them and the Titans. And the Saints are playing well and winning some games. And they have a rookie quarterback, Tyler Shuck, that they feel good about. So they are not doing anything at the end of this season. You know, they're going to go home after the season ends, but they are playing for something and playing to have an upward narrative going into next season. The Giants aren't doing that. You know,
Yeah.
will they win if they win their last two games? Will they? I mean, to a certain extent, maybe. You know, but really, it's they're just kind of, you know, meandering and staggering to the finish here, and it's just bad for everybody.
All right. Tank Bowl. Let's talk implications of this game that's coming, because, I mean, people are going to be watching this game not for your team. Raiders fans and Giants fans are going to be watching this game not for the team to win, but for the team to lose, which is absolutely what the kids call diabolical to me. I'm on tankathon.com right now. I'll read out the top five, the teams who have the top five picks right now. Giants 2-13, Vegas 2-13, Cleveland 3-12, Jets 3-12, Tennessee 3-12. The Giants' strength of schedule is at a 531. Vegas is at 543. Cleveland's 492. So can you break down the implications of this game? Is it loser takes all in terms of you taking the number one pick? overall.
Oh, I think this is yes. You can break it down that whoever loses this game is in complete control of the number one pick. I mean, right now the Giants are at 36% to get the number one pick, right? The Raiders are at 37%. Now, after this week, those numbers will tumble tremendously. I would say the Giants will probably be like 70 or 75% chance to get the number one pick, you know? So yeah, I mean and look, these are very different teams, right, Brandon?
Yep.
As we mentioned, the Giants could get the number one pick and do not need a quarterback. The Raiders could get the number one pick and they absolutely need a quarterback. Geno Smith is not their answer. He's talking about regression. He's a guy who has just not played well this year.
Yeah.
He has played well in his career, but he's not the answer in Las Vegas. So if you're the Raiders, and you're the Raiders fans, you're like, are we going to screw ourselves out of the first pick here by winning this game? The Giants, the thought process is from their fans, are we going to screw ourselves out of getting the number one pick so we can trade it to the Raiders or the
Yeah.
Jets or somebody like that who needs a quarterback? That's the difference. Now, I would ask you this. Are we 100% sure that any team that does not get the number one pick who wants a quarterback is going to trade up for Fernando Mendoza? Are we sure about that? Let me give me a short answer, and then I want to expand about that. Are we sure that just the Giants get the number one pick, and there's going to be two or three teams that want to trade up to get Fernando Mendoza? Do you think that is unquestionably the case?
Yeah, I believe so. With all the hype that this kid has, especially beating Ohio State and leading Indiana of all places to be the number one team in the country, I think if he wins the national championship, because this is where him on a national stage now for these next 2-3 games in the college football playoffs, if he plays well, then he will lock up that number one pick for sure.
Okay, well, I don't disagree with that second part. That you look, yes, I mean he beat Ohio State. They're undefeated, and as you said, they're Indiana. And they're Indiana. I mean, they're Indiana. That's all there is to it. I mean, no one has ever talked about Indiana in
Yep.
football. So I agree with that part, and I also agree that these next couple of weeks, if he wins and then he wins again, that can really really solidify him. And if he plays terribly, that will certainly hurt him.
You haven't heard
They're not.
anything on Oregon's Dante Moore, quarterback?
You know what? No, to be traded up to number two, but this is Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
As you know, as a follower of this, in the next weeks and months, Dante Moore will either skyrocket and people say, "Oh no, he's number two," and a lot of people like him better than Mendoza. I guarantee you will hear that, or nah, I'm not sure he's a first round pick. You know that. It's
Yep.
probably the latter. It's the former. It's probably going to be, you know what? I talked to a scout. He likes Dante Moore better than Mendoza. So maybe. At this point, I don't know, but maybe. So yeah, you're right. Quarterbacks always, people salivate over these quarterbacks, right? So, but the bottom line is having one is better than having number two if you want to trade that pick.
Yeah, fans don't want to go off of a maybe. They they want this loss so they can hold on to that sole number one pick and see what Joe Shane or who, if it's another GM, to see what they can do for it. Because I'm all about the picks. I just don't want to lose for the picks. And speaking of losing, someone who is is winning individually, but tired, pretty much probably tired of losing, in terms of being on a team. Brian Burns makes another Pro Bowl. He's having a career year, 15 sacks on the season. I think he may be able to get to 20 in these next two games because the Raiders' offensive line is terrible. He can get 3 this game, and then maybe he gets 2 sacks against the Cowboys. He's had 5 games this season so far with 2 sacks. Spider-Man, we saw from the spring that this kid was going to have an amazing season. Do you feel bad for him, per se, Paul? Because I feel like he should be a national brand or a national name if he was on winning teams.
Well, he's a terrific player in New York, making a ton of money. So feel bad, but I'm not sure. But yeah, there's no question. If you look at his record from the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants, I mean, I think he's winning at like 30%. I mean, it's just he's in last place almost every year. It's not because of him, obviously. So yeah, I mean, you see, it just takes the life out of him after these games. He sits on the bench longer than anybody else on the team. He just sits there after these games and sits there. It's almost like he has no energy to get up. But the one thing, Brandon, he is going to be a great teaching tool for this franchise and for anybody, because yes, as you mentioned back in the spring, how many times have you been at OTAs or at training camp when guys talk about, I did this differently, I did that differently, I changed my body, I have lower body fat, I'm in the best shape of my life. I worked on this, I worked on that, I changed things. And sometimes it pays off. And very often it's like they're kind of the same player. And Brian Burns was a terrific player, last year with the Giants. He was banged up, but he was terrific.
Yep.
Not as good as he is this year. And so he definitely said that he changed things in his process mentally, physically, emotionally. You could tell from the first practices, he's running after guys. He's giving it his all. He's trying to be a leader by what he does on the field.
Yep.
He's not the most vocal leader. And so all those things did not translate at all to wins, but it translated to his best season by far as an NFL player. So he can be a guy that whoever the coaches are next year, and he can then talk to young players and say, look what I did. I was a really good player who reassessed everything about my career and changed a bunch of things, and now I was the best version of myself. He's been the best player on the team. Andrew Thomas has been the best player on offense, but he's been banged up. So it is, if you're going to give an MVP of this season for the Giants, it's Brian Burns, number one, and there's really no number two. There is no number two. That's how much better he has been than everybody else on the team this year.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him because we talk about how players, we can now brand ourselves. We're not looked at as a distraction or as an I guy, me guy when it comes to going and creating content, doing commercials. 15 sacks in New York, Paul, should get you a Chunky Soup commercial at least. He should be there with Jake from State Farm doing Spider-Man commercials or Geico commercials at least, because this here is New York City, and we've asked him to what the players that come into this city and they go and they search for the fame, they ended up crashing out. New York is a city to where it's, if you work hard, you play hard, and you produce, the city, the fan bases will heighten you, will make you bigger and better, bigger than life. And I feel like this kid should have a guest appearance on Spider-Man shows, all of that, because he's doing everything he's supposed to do. He's not searching for the limelight. He shows up, does it right. But since the fact that these last 2 years his team is not winning, he has not become a national brand yet. So hopefully next year, he can have an even better season. And the Giants have a better season overall. And now he can get the flowers that he deserves. But shout out to Brian Burns. Congratulations, being the only player in New York for Jets and Giants to make it to the Pro Bowl. Can't wait to see him, next year. Hopefully he can top that. Paul, we're running out of time. Quick thoughts going into Sunday.
Yeah, look, two teams carrying in 9-game losing streaks. That's a bomb. That's abysmal, but it happened. It happened last week with the Commanders and the Giants on long losing streaks. The Giants didn't win. Here's what I would say if you want to talk about two terrible teams, right? The Giants have lost 9 straight. Their plus minus, their scoring differential is minus 99. Okay, not incredibly bad for a team that is 2-13. The Raiders' point differential is minus 169. Okay, Giants minus 99, the Raiders minus 169. So the Raiders have been a much worse team than the Giants this year. I know we talked about tanking and losing and all these things. Vegas is not a big, home field advantage for the Raiders. Certainly, there'll certainly be Giants, New York people there in Vegas. So as much as we talk about the tanking and don't want to win and all this other stuff, the Giants as a team, as players, as coaches want to win. Kafka wants to get his first win. So the Raiders are the worst team in football in my mind. If the Giants go in there and lose this game, there's a new champion crowned, and the Giants are officially the worst team in football. That's all there is to it. The point differential says it's the Raiders. The point differential Sunday will tell us who it really is.
And there you have it. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for watching another episode of Blue Rush. For Paul Schwartz, I'm Brendan London. Have a great weekend.